am the citer in the intro. Name's right here. If you want that to stay forever, let me know down in the comments. We'll just keep it right here underneath the box, and then you'll know who's talking to you. I'm not just BIC guy, you know? Anyway, here is Robert Downey Jr. being announced as Doctor Doom. Here it is from Marvel Studios. Ta-da! As if, really, there could be anyone else that they would bring back for this. Now, of course, everybody out there is wondering, like, how this is going to work, right? How are we going to reintroduce Iron Man, the father of the MCU as we know it, as the villain now in an entirely different role? Well, as the thumbnail explains, they're not going to be reintroducing Robert Downey Jr., the actor, under a completely different character. This is not what's going to happen. The thing that you're going to see with the Fantastic Four movie that's coming out, everyone's talking about saying, oh, this will be the first time you see Doom. No, you're forgetting how they're separating villains from their canon in order to make them threats for the multiverse, okay? Remember, all right? Remember, you're dealing with Marvel, and we saw all those videos of those people that don't know anything about the content they're creating. They said that they were explicitly hired because they didn't know what anything was going on with the Marvel Universe. Even Taika Waititi, right? That's what it is. I'm not purposely trying to get that wrong. I think it's Taika Waititi. Even he admitted during an interview about Thor: Love and Thunder that he hadn't read any of the Thor comics. He had basically been given an overview of what everything was supposed to accomplish for the MCU's goals, and that's what he went forward with. So this is what you're looking at, are people that aren't nestled in the threads, if you will, to borrow from the Acolyte, the threads of the Marvel comic book universe, but rather are more versatile within the MCU, okay? Now, the difference that you're wondering is like, oh, of course, these people suck at what they do because they don't know what they're doing. Exactly. And so this is not going to change. It's not going to change. What they're going to do with Robert Downey Jr. is this, all right? Now, I discussed it with over on Twitter yesterday, so we're going to go through. These are AI-generated images. If you have a problem with the use of AI for the purposes of explaining an idea, I'm very sorry, but what you're about to see is AI-generated. Try someone else's video, maybe, if this is something you feel very passionately about. I don't hate you for it. Everyone's got a line in the sand, but you've been warned, okay? So, here we have it. Robert Downey Jr. will wear a version of the infamous Iron Man armor. Now, if you remember, this was after Tony's death, and Doom was having some remorse over Tony's death, and so he thought to take up the Iron Man moniker and do some justice, but of course, Doom has a very different idea about justice. So we'll see him. It's like a green, silver, mostly silver, but with like green energy accents, Iron Man suit. This is not a really good representation of it. You'll see a little bit further on what I think it'll actually look like, or a little closer to the representation of what I'll think. But for right now, let's get through this first descriptor. Now, this is stuff I've talked about on the 01 stream. So if you want to get more of this, tune into the 01 stream at 8 o'clock on Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays, right here on this channel. So he will merge technology and magic, as is with Doom, and he will present a threat to Reed Richards as well as Doctor Strange. Now, what I mean by this is that he's not going to appear in the Fantastic Four, but we know that Reed Richards, canonically in the comic book universe, has a council of Reeds in the multiverse that get together and they talk with each other. Now, what we understand from this Fantastic Four movie is it's not necessarily an origin story, but it's also not like a denouement, the end of the road story either. So what you're probably going to see is like a developed Fantastic Four that are going to go through an adventure that shows you what their powers are. And in that way, you will meet a Reed Richards that is aware of the multiverse and communicating with his other versions, most likely. Because again, they've made us all very comfortable with the idea of different universes thanks to Deadpool, okay? The success of this movie also means that general audiences are now aware of what the TVA is capable of, but they're not aware of what magic can do, okay? So here we are. Doom will absorb the Council of Kangs. Now, at the end of the Ant-Man movie, we saw that those three Kangs get together and they walked out into that big stadium full of Kangs that were all freaking out, having a great time, right? Well, what's going to happen now that Jonathan Majors is done is that they're probably going to have this version of Doom walk out into the middle of that stadium raise his arms up, and then lightning bolts will just scatter throughout all of it, and you'll see like sort of kind of like what happened when Dr. Manhattan was like turned into blue guy. He got blue guyed. Yeah. Well, Kang's blue in the mask, I guess. So synergy, right? Synergy. Anyway, they're going to see like these guys disintegrate and then like Thanos snap particle crap into the chest of this new Doom. And this will grant him the power to create Battle World and effectively elevate him to Beyonder levels. He will most likely start addressing himself as Beyond the Multiverse. And later they'll start addressing him as the Beyonder, people who aren't familiar with Doom. Their first words about him will say, we call him the Beyonder. And so that's how they'll introduce these multiverse level threats, is that Doom will first be the first known as the Beyonder. Because the concept of the Beyonder requires a crap ton of backstory to get you familiar with the cosmic apparatus of the Marvel comic universe, not the cinematic universe, the comic universe. And they tried that with Eternals, and that backfired. It was also revealed that most likely there'll be some type of interaction with the giant dead Celestial, and apparently that's where adamantium comes from. So expect a bit of a reference to that somewhere in the Doomsday movie. That might be how it sort of begins to, there's a mining operation. And so the tone is set, you get your character introduction there. But I digress back to this one. This will grant Doom the power to create Battle World, all right? Now we're scroll down here, and again, you see that I'm using this Iron Man motif here. You see this sort of like Iron Man without the glowy eyes, sometimes with glowy eyes, this sort of thing. Because I think Doom will alternate between that. The Doom we'll see there is we're going to see him with like glowy eyes, like we saw in this last picture here. Like again, these aren't robot eyes. You can't really get in there, but these aren't robot eyes. These are human eyes that are glowing inside there, kind of like what we saw with Doctor Strange when he was summoning all those awful powers that he had there in the last movie he was in. So again, like as usual with Doom's exposed eyes, when we see him in the comics and in some of the video games, I think he has the exposed eyes. And this again, we have the Iron Man cheekbone jaw apparatus. I worked really hard to get the AI tuned on this to really make it generate an Iron Man Doom style mask that merged both design aesthetics in a pleasant way. It drifts back and forth as we go through these images, so you'll have to forgive me, but it's for the purposes of illustrating a point. So, Doom will be the threat that the Watcher and Captain Carter are looking at in the end of What If Season 2. Now, if you're not familiar, the What If Season 2 detailed having a Doctor Strange who was previously poisoned, getting loose and trying to destroy the multiverse again. And in fact, the demons inside of him get loose and are able to muster enough force together to be a threat to the multiverse outside of Strange himself. And so, of course, we're introduced to all sorts of different girl power methods to deal with this. And Echo becomes a very confusing character when you meet Kali? Cammy? No, it's not Cammy. It's Kali. I think it's Kali. I forget. I'm very sorry. I remember it. She's a Native American character that has like glowy, throwy powers that beat the hell out of the demons. And people were like, wow! And she one-shotted Killmonger. Yeah. With the Infinity Stones too, one-shotted him with the Infinity Stones. Really crazy. But anyway, so what you're going to see is Doom will be defeated by Franklin Richards. Right now, if you're not familiar, Franklin Richards is the son of Sue and Reed, who has like he's basically a true-born Beyonder. His ability to warp reality, alter the fabric of existence right down to, the molecular level, the atomic level, rewrite timelines right then and there. And he's also semi-omnipresent. And he also, I believe, one-shotted Galactus once, killed Galactus, and turned Galactus into his herald, by the way. Like Silver Surfer was the herald of his. So yeah, Franklin Richards is a real deal, real powerful character, and usually brought out to put an end to multiversal mayhem. He's kind of like if you could imagine a character like Superman that answers all of the problems the DC Universe manages to paint themselves into a corner with. That's basically what Franklin Richards is he's the character that comes in and says, wow, this is a big pile of dookie, time to hit reset. And that's what he does, is he resets the universe. He did this with the last Secret Wars that Doom was in control of, and I do believe, Doom is usually a big player in Secret Wars, but this latest rendition, he was like the center point to it. Had his glowy white armor, and I think he turned Thanos into like a skeleton with just a touch of his finger and stuff like that. It was real crazy. But anyway, he will be like the opposite, the anti-Doom, if you will. And so he'll come in and reset the universe, and that'll be how this sets up. So let's go on and find out more about how this all comes to be, though. This is a prediction, mind you. And like I said, if you want to hear more of this, I usually nail this stuff, by the way. I talk about it on the 01 stream we do here on Wednesdays. And again, like usually I'm dead on with this, if not 9/10 of the way. They call me Woke Stradamus, all right? Comment down below if you like the name Woke Stradamus. You know, it's like Nostradamus, but with woke at the front of it. Because I could just predict all the crazy, dumb woke stuff. Kevin Feige, if you're watching this, hire me. I can predict your stuff months out, even when you're scrambling, trying to come up with an idea. Just hire me and we'll figure out everything, okay? I can cross off all your dots and you won't be insulted by it, all right? So here you go. Superior Iron Man. And we heard a lot of people talking about this on Twitter. You might see some videos going around like, why didn't they go with Superior Iron Man? Well, Superior Iron Man isn't powerful enough. That's the thing. You would have to graduate Superior Iron Man to basically being Doctor Doom in order to present a threat to people like Doctor Strange. You have to remember is that unlike the DC universe, Marvel doesn't have a power law, okay? So DC has the triangle of power, as I called it. I copy and pasted it into my own comic book universe when I made my stuff because it makes perfect sense, okay? So this is the triangle of power. I didn't draw a triangle. So here is the triangle of power I'm doing the best to draw in the air, okay? So the top of this list is the alien, okay? That'd be Superman in this setting, okay? In DC's setting. Now, I'm talking about DC, okay? So follow me here because this is not the Marvel universe, but this is something they really need to like adopt immediately. So at the top of this is the alien, which is Superman. Next is technology. That's Lex Luthor, right? Then you get over here and you get into magic, which is like Faust, Dr. Fate, these kind of characters, all right? So here's how it goes. Alien beats technology. Technology beats magic. Magic beats alien. And these are the laws that the DC universe stories usually follow, which is why their power dynamics don't go nuts most of the time, okay? It's when they divert from that and it really gets crazy. And Marvel doesn't do that. They're just like, sometimes King Thor is able to rewrite the universe. Sometimes he can't even defeat Molecule Man. Sometimes he gets completely screwed over by the gravity guy, Graviton. He gets completely screwed. Yeah, just ridiculous situations that the writer just wanted to see happen. That's it. And that's really what happens now that you're evolving into this, where Superior Iron Man is not powerful enough to register a threat on the multiverse level. Is he a threat to his Earth? To his Earth? Absolutely. You may even see a Superior Iron Man show up, right? You may even see a character like that appear in this story in order to like shore up the threat, if you will. Now, if you remember when they were doing Doctor Strange Mom, that's Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange Mom, somebody in the writing department thought that was very clever, and you know it. And when they were doing that one, it was, word has it, was that Tom Cruise was supposed to play the Tony Stark of that universe that was sporting the symbiote-powered Superior Iron Man suit. Didn't come to pass, obviously, but that might be coming in the new Doomsday movie, where Doctor Doom reaches out to the various twisted Tony variants, like himself, and begins assembling an army of people well and truly capable of destroying at least one Earth, let alone all of them. All right? Now, you might be wondering why he's done this, okay? Why he's gone this far. And so, this is why Robert Downey Jr. is playing Von Doom. It's the twist will be that Tony Stark has faked his death, okay, to discover the secrets of the multiverse after defeating Thanos with time travel. This will be a very different Tony Stark. Don't get me wrong. This is not the one that the I Love You 3000 snap himself away. This is going to be a Tony Stark that, much like what happened in Doctor Strange Mom, with that version of Stephen Strange becoming like corrupted by the Grimoire there, I believe that's the Blackmore, something like that, the evil spell book. By him becoming corrupted by that, sacrificing himself, blah, da, 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 that kind of thing. So you're going to see this kind of mentality with this version of Tony. Much like he was very disturbed discovering that there was a whole apparatus of cosmic threats beyond the Earth and became hyper fixated with fixing that, right? That's how we got Ultron, remember? This Tony discovers there's a multiverse. In the process of solving time travel, he discovers that there's alternate timelines that run parallel to his, becoming overwhelmed by the possibility once he witnesses it, right? Let's say that he's able to build a mechanism that allows him to view it. Remember Fringe, that television show from Fox that had a guy that built a television that viewed into another reality, and it drove him so nuts that his son survived in that reality that he ripped open a hole in both realities to get his son back? Think about that, right? So they're going to borrow Wanda's motivation that the family's gone. So consider what happens in Endgame. Pepper is out on the battlefield. She's doing, all these crazy moves and things like that. So just regress this a little bit and imagine that Pepper doesn't know that she's pregnant. And in the process of fighting Thanos, she gets KO'd. Tony knew because of Jarvis or Friday, depending on whatever AI they decide to go with, and he was kind of going to play stupid about it in the usual coy Tony way. But she ends up getting KO'd. They end up defeating Thanos, but Tony, of course, is brokenhearted over this. Much like how Scarlet Witch was ready to destroy the multiverse in order to bring back her kids, right? This guy has a slightly different idea, okay? What we're going to see is you're going to see a Doom that, what the situation is, you're going to see a Doom that takes advantage of what people remember about other Tonys. He's going to realize that he has the ability to manipulate people in this sort of way. His end goal, though, right? Because like I say right here, Doom being a variant of Tony will prevent the heroes from stopping him when they have the chance. You'll see, the return of like Hawkeye. They might bring back Hawkeye for this. There's talk that Scarlett Johansson is being bid back into this. So who knows? Secret Wars is chock full of people. And so feeling guilt over the loss of Tony and not being the ones to take the fall themselves, they say, we could fix this, Tony. And he says, Tony is dead. There is only Doom now. And you might be wondering why he makes that leap. All right. So what happens is in my opinion, Pepper and Morgan die, and instead of him wanting to go out into the multiverse and pull somebody else's family through, Doom decides that there's too much confusion, right? He's going to see, he's going to want to fake his death, and he's going to view the multiverse, and he's going to be driven mad by it. I fully expect this scene, okay? Forgive me, I'm wondering because I have so many different visuals poking through my brain at the moment because I see what they're going to do. It's almost in 4K in my head. So you're going to see Tony looking into this reality ripper monitor, and you're going to see him watching Spider-Ham and scenes from the Across the Spider-Verse situation, because those kids are apparently going to be making an appearance in Secret Wars. So you're going to see them integrated into this just a little bit in Doomsday. And this is going to be the introduction to this full introduction to this character here. He's not going to make an introduction anywhere else. They don't have time. You got to understand, they don't have time to build him up, so they have to introduce him as something you're familiar with and then twist him immediately. This is why Robert Downey Jr. is here. So here's where the twist comes, right? He's remorseful, he's sad, everybody's celebrating. Let's say we take the scene again where they're all trying to lift Thor's hammer, right? They're all having a party. But rather than Tony giving it a try with Rhodey and using the repulsor rockets and stuff in the he's walking away. He's over there with his little portal to another multiverse, and he's scrolling through like Tinder. Let's say it looks like Tinder, and he's scrolling through trying to find a multiverse where this went a little differently. And instead of wanting to rip that out, he finally is driven mad by just how chaotic it is and what the threat to that multiverse is. So let's say that they revisit The Watcher, but they make it live action, right? So you see What If Season 1 where Killmonger wearing the Infinity Stone armor is fighting Infinity Stone Ultron or Infinity Stone Vision? Infinity Stone Ultron, something like that. The one that James Wood voiced. And so you have them fighting, and you have Tony seeing this, and he's just immediately driven mad that this is just one instance that luckily went their way. And again, this is revisiting him having that PTSD after the encounter with Loki in the first Avengers movie. And so he drifts so much further into this that he arrives at there can only be one universe. There can only be one. And so understanding that this is the doom of all of these worlds, he has decided to take on the name Doom. I don't think you're going to hear the name Doctor Doom. I'm not sure that that is something that's going to make its way into, like, Doc Ock's kind of fun because Spider-Man makes fun of him, right? Laughs at him, kind of. They're a little bit friends, a little bit in how they presented them in both movies or three movies, both movies this character showed up in. So again, you're going to see, like, probably not Doctor Doom. They're just going to call him Doom. And that'll be the name that this Tony takes on as he understands what his purpose is that he is Doom. Now, again, you're going to take a look at this AI representation I cooked up here. And this is a little closer to what I think it's going to look like, long hair and all. You're going to see like a Tony that's totally forgotten about the human side of himself. He eats and he sleeps when it's necessary, but the rest of the time is focused on destroying these worlds, amassing the power to destroy more, okay? And so what's going to happen further on into this setup is that Doom Stark, he's not going to have these grounded forces. They died in the, Pepper and Morgan, like Unborn Morgan, died in the battle with Thanos. And then again, you're going to see him put together Battle World as a tournament of power, okay? It's much like Dragon Ball Z. Remember this tournament of power where everybody had to prove that their universe was the one that was saved to the Grand Kais, I think the Grand Kais, right? Those two little blue guys that are ADD. Anyway, so that whole thing is what Doom is going to like effectively recreate with Battle World. Battle World will be a test, okay? Battle World will be a test for who is deserving to go into this new world that Doom is creating. Who is going to go out and do that and ensure that what happened in the Thanos setting, what happened in the multiverse incursion, what happened in Deadpool and Wolverine doesn't happen again. That this is all impossible. There will only be one universe. So there's no universes to bump into each other and create horrible messes, right? And in order to like help him with this, he's going to resurrect Scarlet Witch. Now, there has been rumor going around Twitter and some of the forums that they are trying to bring back Scarlet Witch back into the setting. Because again, Disney likes witches now. They used to hate them. They used to like turn them into dragons and make them into evil queens that did horrible things and were hideous and all this other jazz. But now they like them. Now they like those witches a lot. So here we have it, is that what's going to happen is that Doom is going to put a plan together to restart realities as one reality. And this is going to appeal to the resurrected Wanda, who was previously defeated, trying to rip realities apart and create one where her family existed still, Vision included. And so what you're going to see is that Doom is going to go to her, bring her back to life, and she's going to see this as a way to get her family back. So she will agree to work with him. And I'm pretty sure this is the motivation of Doom, okay? I'm pretty sure this is Doom Stark, as I called him. This is Doom Stark's motivation. It says, Doom will create a world where innocence isn't a casualty of victory. Okay? Now, again, you're dealing with an emo Tony Stark. Doesn't sound a lot like Tony Stark. No, you're talking about a guy that's made up his mind that he's going to destroy all reality. All of it. Not go out and pick out his favorites. He's going to destroy all of it. And it's going to get restarted into one that is custom built to survive forever. All right? And Wanda, her response to that would be a world where love is eternal. And again, you'll see a bit of a fracture between these two start to split, because Tony's trying to do this to restart everything so that none of the horror that the Avengers and the other heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have witnessed ever happened. He's trying to clear the slate completely and ensure that no threat will ever come to exist for Earth. Whereas Wanda is dreaming of a reality where no one ever dies. We saw this in the Marvel Universe where life was an enemy. Literally, the force of life became an enemy to the Marvel Universe. And I have a feeling she is going to be an avatar of this, an accidental avatar of this, given that Tony has brought her back to life. Doom Stark has brought her back to life. And this, again, will move forward into the Beyond Secret Wars threats. Because, they love their witches, all right? So this brings us to, how are they going to deal with this guy? Who is going to be the Beyonder, and what is he going to get up to? So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have the again, this is predictions. I don't work for Marvel. I just seem to be on the same wavelength that most of the creative team over there. Like I said, woke Stradamus. So here we go. Sue Storm will be pregnant, and she will be keeping it a secret from Reed due to her unwed status in the 1960s. Again, they love to play this, women are oppressed all the time forever, and nobody ever had a good time until right now today. Even now, it's not a good time, they're going to play that card. So Sue is this is the girl power kind of thing that they're talking about. That Sue is going to be protecting Reed from, this pregnancy and getting married because he's so obsessed with science and she doesn't believe that he's able to split the two and it may destroy his career to have to embrace having a child and all of these sort of excuses that'll make her into like this very virtuous person keeping secrets about her pregnancy from Reed. So when they're out there doing their Fantastic Four thing and they use their powers and this sort of timeline comes together with them moving into the Secret War situation, that passage through the multiversal field, because again, the Fantastic Four are uniquely sensitive to radiation. We've seen this in the comic book setting. They're uniquely sensitive to radiation because that's where they got their powers. The great energy wave, the God wave, if you will. Or maybe that was DC that called it the God wave. But either way, the big old energy wave that gave them, the cosmic wave that gave them powers, they're very sensitive to radiation. So when they go through this energy field, the multiversal energy field, this is when Franklin Richards will become the Beyonder, the true Beyonder. And this will be his arc, right? Will be from this point on, you'll start seeing Sue having sort of like premonitions of a guy dressed like that. And this is supposed to be Chris Evans, by the way. Just cut to the chase. It's supposed to be Chris Evans. This is how they bring him back. They're not going to bring him back as Captain America. That defeats the whole point of like 7 reshoots for Mackie. That's not going to happen. They're not going to bring him back. That defeats all of the trouble they've gone through trying to make Captain America Brave New World, okay? It's not going to happen. And Mackie would be pissed to find out he's immediately going to be like shown up one movie after he gets a chance to solo. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So what they're going to do is they're going to bring back Chris Evans as Franklin Richards. He will be the Beyonder from a future where, there's great harmony, but it's being eroded and destroyed by Doom's influence, which has summoned Franklin's attention. All right? Now, he'll be from the setting where the 60s Fantastic Four universe was allowed to continue forward, because we're going to see like a hyper-advanced 1960s, not the one that we see. Because again, we saw this at the preview at SDCC, that they showed us a very advanced-looking New York City, a very utopic-looking New York City. And of course, it'll be plagued by the same things of racism and sexism and Nazis and all these things that exist in our timeline, but somehow be utopic at the same time. Whatever. So Franklin Richards will come from a future there, but it'll be like the 90s. Because again, he was born in the 60s, so he'll be like, an adult, the prime adulthood to do battle with Doom, probably around, like mid-90s, all right? And so he will emerge just basically in the last minute, sort of like how Superman did in Justice League, Zack Snyder's cut, where he just showed up at the end to beat the hell out of Beowulf, and that was that. Yeah, I think that was the guy. Anyway, big old CGI monster guy, they lobbed the head off. And this will be what happens with that. And of course, it'll be like, look at that, guys, we brought everybody back, we're so cool, thank us later. And that'll just close out the whole thing, because what'll happen is Franklin Richards will regress himself into an infant, reset the entirety of the multiverse, right? And condense it down into one world where everybody exists, instead of Doom going through and picking the various things. He'll say Doom had a point, but I can make it so that everybody has a chance to live together. And so the 616 in proper form will come to exist. And that's how, proper form is in like with Miles Morales and Peter Parker, Ironheart instead of Iron Man, Captain Falcon instead of Falcon Cap, however you want to say it, instead of Captain America, Chris Evans, that kind of thing. That the all new, all different MCU is what we'll end up with. So that's my prediction for this. Let me know down in the comments below how far you think I'm on or off with this. And if you have any other suggestions about it, I'll certainly revisit this concept. But for now, this is how I think Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to go. You're going to see a complete reset of the Marvel Universe because they just built up so much crap now. They have to reset it. It's the only way to bring everybody in. They missed this opportunity at the end of Endgame when Tony snapped his fingers. There could have been a very quick thing where he was talking with, Morgan or some other person, some other avatar of innocence for him, the way that Thanos was. And, he could say, like, we're going to need backup. There'll be more threats. We need help. And then you could show all of the Marvel characters emerging from various corners of New York City, being united in one universe. And this could have happened 10 years ago or however long Endgame was. It feels like a century. But no, we're waiting until now when the wheels have come off the entire operation and it's all over with. But until the next one, guys, good luck out there.